Hi, I'm Jason, 39, and the night my son asked, "Did they forget about me?" Something broke inside me so deeply, it never healed the same way again. It started with a lie. A soft, polite, well-rehearsed lie from my mother. "We just can't swing it right now." She said it with the kind of breezy dismissal reserved for canceling brunch, not skipping her only grandson's graduation dinner. I said okay like it didn't gut me, like I hadn't already confirmed the reservation and paid the deposit. Caleb, my son, is the kind of kid who doesn't ask for much. He never throws tantrums, never begs for things, never expects people to show up. Probably because, for most of his life, they haven't. And I've let that happen. Because I believe that if I kept holding the family together with quiet sacrifices and regular wire transfers, they'd come around. If I just paid enough bills, covered enough emergencies, maybe they'd remember my son's birthday. Maybe they'd call to say, "We're proud of him." Instead, I opened Instagram that night and saw my parents in a private dining room, laughing, celebrating Amanda's twin girls graduating elementary school. Pink balloons, cake, champagne. A caption that read, "Family is everything." Caleb saw it too. He stood in our hallway, small and hopeful in his pajamas, holding his phone. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just whispered, "Did Grandma and Grandpa forget about me?" And something in me, something buried so deep I didn't know it still had roots, snapped. I walked to my bedroom, opened my banking app, and stared at the number, $6,800. Every month. For 9 years. Mortgage, utilities, insurance, credit cards, streaming services, cell phones, Amanda's car payment, the twins' after-school care, everything. No questions asked? No thanks given. I screenshotted the payment. Wrote 2 words in the family group chat. Payment voided. Attached the screenshot. Send it. Turned off my phone. At 6:12 the next morning, I opened my door to find my father pounding like the building was on fire. And that was the moment I realized I wasn't invisible. I was indispensable. But only as long as the money came. More to come. My father barreled through the front door like I'd set off a bomb. "You can't just do this, Jason," he shouted, breath steaming in the morning air. "Do you even understand what you've done?" I sipped my coffee. "You mean canceling the money that pays your mortgage, car insurance, utilities, groceries, and 3 streaming platforms you never thanked me for?" "Yeah. I understood it just fine." He flinched, like the civility he expected had gone missing and left a stranger in its place. "We've never asked for much," he said, which was technically true. They never asked? They expected. Assumed. Demanded sometimes. But never politely. I didn't argue. I just set my mug down and walked to the hallway drawer. Pulled out a red folder. It had started as a spreadsheet. Then receipts. Screenshots. Bank statements. Emails. Texts. Social media posts. The photo of them toasting Lily and Sophie under a banner that said congratulations. The text from my mom, "We just can't swing it." I dropped the folder on the kitchen table. My dad stared at it like it was radioactive. "What the hell is this?" "Evidence." "Of what?" "That I'm not crazy. That this didn't come out of nowhere. That for 9 years I gave and gave and gave until you didn't even remember how to say thank you." "Jason, do you want to see the total?" I flipped the folder open to the last page. $893,000. Since 2015. He went pale. "You missed your grandson's graduation for pink balloons and elementary school cake. We were helping Amanda. You always are." He looked like he wanted to fight me. Or maybe beg. But he didn't say anything. Just stood there like a man finally realizing the floor he was standing on wasn't a floor, it was a lifeline. And I had just let go. I walked to the door and opened it. "You need to go, Dad." He hesitated, then stepped out, turning like he wanted to say something, anything that would unring the bell. I shut the door. Locked it. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up every single recurring charge linked to my account. Mortgage. Utilities. Insurance. Amanda's car. Cell phone plan. Streaming. Credit cards. Every single thing. One by one, I canceled them. And when I was done, I didn't feel guilty. I felt like I'd finally stopped bleeding. The messages started within hours. First from Amanda. Then from my mother. Then a voicemail from David. I didn't listen. I didn't respond. I just let the silence stretch. Because for once, they could feel it too. By day 5, their world had started unraveling. The first real crack came when Amanda's husband, David, somehow found my work email. Her phone got cut off mid-call with a client, he wrote. She nearly lost a contract. Can you please just turn the service back on? I didn't reply. I forwarded it to my trash folder. Then came the voicemail from my mother. Her voice shook as she pleaded. Jason, please. We're sorry. We should have been at Caleb's dinner. We made a mistake. The power company sent a disconnect notice. We don't know what to do. Delete. Day 10, a letter showed up under my apartment door. My father's handwriting on the envelope, like he'd gone through old address books in desperation. Inside, a neatly folded letter begging for time. Just one more month. He had gone to job interviews. My mother was looking for part-time work. Amanda was cutting expenses. We're trying. Please. Just a little more time. I read it twice. Then tore it into pieces and dropped it in the trash without a word. But that was nothing compared to the explosion on day 15. Amanda went full martyr on social media. A long, dramatic post, no names, but come on. Sometimes the people you depend on turn out to be the cruelest. She wrote about betrayal, abandonment, how her daughters now ask why their uncle doesn't love them anymore. The comments were brutal. A few took her side. Most didn't. A couple pointed out that maybe, if one man's support was keeping 5 people afloat, the real issue wasn't the man. It was the dependence. I screenshotted the whole post. Saved it to the red folder. Day 18, my mom posted in a local Facebook group asking for a lawyer who'd accept payment plans. A mutual friend saw it, screenshotted it, and sent it to me with a quiet, "I think your mom's having a hard time." I didn't reply. Day 25, the email came from Amanda's auto lender. Subject line: Repossession notice, final warning. The car I co-signed on, hers. I hadn't even remembered until I saw my name in the CC line. $824 overdue. I forwarded it to her with no message. No response. Day 30, the lights went out. I know because my father sent one final email to an ancient address I hadn't used since college. No subject line. Just 5 words. The lights went out. I stared at the message. Then I logged out and never checked that email again. And that night, I sat on the balcony, drinking water, watching the city lights blink to life. Somewhere, 20 minutes away, my parents sat in the dark. And for once, I wasn't the one left invisible. 2 months. That's how long the silence lasted after the lights went out. No calls. No texts. No pleading voicemails. No Facebook drama posts from Amanda. No urgent emails forwarded to my work inbox. No pop-ins at my front door. Just silence. And in that quiet, I did something I hadn't done in years. I rebuilt. Caleb started his first semester at college. I drove him to campus 3 hours away, helped him move into the dorm, met his roommate, helped arrange his desk, even set up the Wi-Fi. We got tacos after, walked around campus. I asked him a dozen times if he needed anything else. He just kept smiling. He didn't mention my parents. He didn't ask about Amanda. It was like he'd stopped waiting for them to show up, like he'd finally realized the truth. Sometimes the people who share your blood are the ones least qualified to love you. I spent the next few weeks cleaning out my life like a house full of smoke. I closed credit cards I'd opened on their behalf. I consolidated my own debt. I opened a savings account, just for me. I automated contributions to a college fund for Caleb and added vacation savings. I went to Home Depot and bought tools. Fixed a kitchen drawer that had been jammed since 2019. Ordered a new couch, a new mattress. I deep cleaned the apartment until it smelled like fresh beginnings. I didn't cry. I didn't brood. I just exhaled. And then one morning, a letter appeared under my door. No return address. No stamp. Just my name, in my father's handwriting. The last time he wrote my name was probably on a check for school lunch. I opened it slowly. Inside was a single page, neat, deliberate. Jason. I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to respond. I just need to say it. You were right. We failed you. We failed Caleb. We took you for granted. Treated you like a bank account instead of a son. We prioritized Amanda because she was loud about needing help. You were quiet, so we assumed you didn't. We were wrong. We sold the house last week. We're moving into a small apartment. Your mother and I are both working. Amanda is too. We're surviving. We're learning. I don't know if it matters. I don't know if you care. But I want you to know that we finally understand what we lost. And it wasn't just money. It was you. It was the chance to be the family you and Caleb deserved. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't change anything. But I needed you to hear it. Dad. I stared at the page. Then I folded it. Slipped it into the red folder with everything else. Not because I forgave him. Not because I felt warm or relieved or vindicated. But because it was evidence. Evidence that I had been heard. Evidence that silence can speak louder than any screaming match ever could. I didn't reply. Didn't text. Didn't call. Didn't acknowledge the letter at all. But I kept it. A week later, Caleb called me. He was hyped up, talking fast, the way he only does when he's really excited. Dad? Guess what? What's up? I made the dean's list. I sat there for a second, the words settling like gold in my chest. First semester? Yeah. Can you believe it? I can, I said, grinning. I'm so proud of you. He paused. Thanks, Dad. Hey, can we do dinner when I'm back next weekend? Just us. Somewhere nice. You pick. I laughed. You pick, bud. My treat. Cool. Love you, Dad. Love you too, Caleb. After we hung up, I sat on the balcony again, looking at the sky. The same orange and pink colors from the night my mother said, we just can't swing it. But this time, they didn't hurt. They felt like closure. The restaurant Caleb picked was this trendy little place tucked into a side street with string lights over the patio and handwritten chalkboard menus. It wasn't fancy, not in the white tablecloth and wine decanted by candlelight way, but it was cool. Intimate. The kind of spot a college kid might find on TikTok and think, this is where I want to take my dad. When we sat down, he smiled across the table at me and said, You look different. Different how? Lighter. Less. I don't know. Tired, maybe? I nodded. I've been sleeping better. He grinned. Me too. We ordered burgers and fries, talked about his classes, his roommate who never showered, the girl he was kind of seeing but not really dating because, in his words, I'm not trying to get distracted by someone who doesn't know who Pythagoras is. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. It was the kind of night I'd always wanted. Easy, warm, no weight hanging between us. No wondering if a text had gone unanswered, no polite lies about why someone couldn't make it. No sadness trying to cover itself up with fake optimism. Just a father and son, being exactly what we should have been all along. After dinner, we walked a couple blocks to a bookstore Caleb liked. We browsed the shelves. He pointed out a science fiction series he thought I'd love. I bought the first 2 books and handed them to him. He blinked. But you said they're for you. I lied. That's what dads do. He rolled his eyes, but he smiled. And that smile was worth more than every dollar I'd ever sent to people who never looked back. We drove home in comfortable silence, windows cracked, the cold night air brushing in. When we got back, he clapped me on the shoulder. That was awesome. Thanks, Dad. Anytime. And I meant it. The next morning, I made pancakes. We sat in the kitchen, just the two of us, like we had so many mornings before, except this time, he wasn't a little kid eating dinosaur-shaped eggs. He was taller than me now, quieter, but with this grounded confidence I hadn't seen before. He checked his phone mid-bite and frowned. Something wrong? I asked. He turned the screen to show me. A Facebook post from Amanda. Public again. Family is supposed to be forever. Even when they hurt you. Even when you feel abandoned. You keep the door open. Because one day, they'll need you the way you needed them. And you'll have to decide what kind of person you want to be. I handed the phone back. You don't have to read that stuff. He shrugged. I don't. I just thought you'd want to know. I already do. I know her language by now. Caleb hesitated. You think they'll ever stop? Trying to guilt me? Probably not. But I stopped answering the door. He nodded slowly, like that meant more to him, then he led on. Good. After breakfast, he packed his duffel. We loaded it in the car, drove back to campus. Before he got out, he turned to me and said, I don't want you to think I'm okay with how they treated us. I know. I don't want to waste time being angry anymore. I want to build stuff. My life, my future. Like you did. I reached out and gripped his shoulder. You're already doing it. He hugged me. Love you, Dad. Love you too, bud. I watched him walk across the campus lawn, disappear into a dorm building. And as I drove home, I realized I wasn't carrying the usual ache. That quiet tension in my chest, wondering if I should have said more, done more, fixed more, it wasn't there. Because I had nothing left to fix. The next week, my building's doorman handed me another envelope. No stamp. Just my name again. This one was from Amanda. I opened it. Read the first sentence. If you're reading this, it means you still care. I stopped. Folded the page. Dropped it straight into the shredder without another thought. Because no, Amanda. I didn't care. Not anymore. Not about the drama, not about the theatrics, not about whatever story she was trying to spin where she and her daughters were innocent victims and I was the villain for setting a boundary. I cared about Caleb. I cared about healing. I cared about being the father I never had, one who shows up, even when it's hard. One who answers when his son whispers, "Did they forget about me?" and says, "Never again." Later that week, I updated the red folder. Added a final note. Closure isn't always a conversation. Sometimes it's a locked door. Then I shut the drawer and left it there, gathering dust. It was a Tuesday afternoon when the letter came, not under the door this time, but in the actual mailbox. Stamped. Posted. Neat return address in the corner from an apartment complex across town. A place I didn't recognize but guessed immediately. It was my parents' new place. I stood in the mailroom, turning the envelope over in my hand like it might catch fire. I almost dropped it in the trash. Almost. But curiosity is a persistent thing. So I tucked it into my jacket pocket and didn't open it until later that night, when the apartment was quiet and I was 2 fingers deep into a glass of bourbon. Inside was a plain white sheet of paper. Typed. No greeting. No closing. Just a block of centered text like a memo. We're working now. We're covering our own bills. We're learning what it means to live with less. Amanda is angry, but she's adapting. We're not asking for money. Not anymore. But we hope, one day, you'll let us see Caleb. That's all we want now. Just a chance to show up while we still can. I read it once. Then again. And instead of rage or guilt or anything heavy, I felt tired. Tired in the way you feel when a storm finally passes and you're left staring at the damage, realizing how long you stood out in the rain trying to protect people who wouldn't even hold an umbrella for you. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish them, but because I didn't know if hope was enough. Not after 18 years of missed birthdays, unreturned calls, empty chairs at every school event that mattered. Not after Caleb asked if his grandparents had forgotten him, and the only thing I could say was, no. They didn't forget. They chose. I tucked the letter into the red folder. I didn't shred it. I didn't burn it. I just filed it away with everything else, the receipts, the screenshots, the pleas, the silence. Because it wasn't forgiveness. But it was documentation. Proof that they knew. Finally. Late, but not blind. A week later, I got a text from an unknown number. Short. Simple. It's David. We're moving out of state. No explanation. No guilt trip. Just facts. I deleted it. 3 days after that, Amanda posted a photo of her twins holding hands in front of a new school. New town. New start. She didn't tag anyone. No long-winded captions. Just a quote. Sometimes you outgrow the place that raised you. That made me laugh. Not in a bitter way, but genuinely. I don't know if it was irony or progress or both, but I took it as a sign the story was changing. Shifting. Ending. Not in fire, not in confrontation, but in quiet rewrites. They were moving on. So was I. The next Saturday, Caleb called. Hey, can I come home next weekend? Of course. You okay? Yeah, I just need a reset. Been kind of a crazy week. No problem. You want to do dinner again? Actually, he said. I was thinking brunch. That place with the patio. The string lights. You're finally converting to the brunch life? Don't push it, Dad. We laughed. He paused for a second, then asked, Do you think they meant it? Who? Grandma and Grandpa. That letter. I was quiet for a second. Maybe. But Caleb, meaning it now doesn't undo all the times they didn't. He let out a breath. Yeah. I know. Just hard not to hope, you know. I get it. I don't think I want to see them. Not yet. Maybe not ever. You don't have to. Okay. Another beat of silence. You're not mad I said that? No, bud. I'm relieved. Why? Because you're finally choosing you. I could almost hear his smile through the line. That Sunday, I cleaned out the last drawer in my office. Inside was a dusty old envelope, unopened, postmarked 3 years ago. From my parents. A birthday card for Caleb that I'd never given him. At the time, I was so bitter about it arriving late, and with no message beyond love, Grandma and Grandpa, that I shoved it into the drawer and forgot about it. I opened it now. Inside was a $20 bill. No note. Just the cash. 3 years ago, Caleb had just turned 15. That year, I'd bought him a used laptop, a subscription to a coding course, and taken him to a robotics expo in another state. And his grandparents had mailed him a bill. I stood there holding it, remembering how I used to convince myself that any effort, no matter how small, was something. But I knew better now. Effort without presence is performance. And presence without heart? That's just optics. I tossed the card in the trash. Kept the 20. Slipped it into my wallet. Not out of spite, just as a reminder. A reminder that love isn't about the money. It's about showing up. And when Caleb came home the following weekend and asked how brunch reservations worked, I smiled and said, "You pick the place, I'll pick the time." He grinned. Deal. We clinked glasses of orange juice over pancakes and avocado toast under string lights on a warm Saturday morning. No drama. No guilt. Just peace. Because we were finally the only people at the table who mattered. 2 months later, I saw them. My parents. It wasn't planned, and it wasn't dramatic. No confrontations in a parking lot, no tearful ambushes outside Caleb's dorm. Just a quiet, accidental crossing of paths on a Sunday afternoon at the farmer's market near my apartment. I was carrying a basket of vegetables. Caleb was beside me, pointing out a stall with cinnamon rolls as big as his face, when I heard my name. Jason? I turned. They looked small. Not just physically, though age had crept in around the edges. My father's hair now almost entirely white, my mother a little hunched, her eyes softer than I remembered. But it wasn't that. It was the way they held themselves. Hesitant. Like people who knew they no longer had permission to be in your life, but still hoped for a crack in the door. Caleb froze beside me. My mom spoke first. "Hi, sweetheart." I didn't reply. She looked at Caleb. "You've gotten so tall." Caleb's face was unreadable. He didn't respond either. Just stood there, hands in his hoodie pocket, the cinnamon roll stand suddenly forgotten. My father stepped forward half a pace. "We were just picking up a few things. Thought we might see you around. We don't live here anymore." My mother added quickly. "Just visiting." I looked at them, then at Caleb. And for a brief second, I saw it again, that flicker of hope. The kind that kids carry far longer than they should. Even after the disappointment settles deep into their bones. But then he blinked, and it was gone. He turned to me and said, "We should go." I nodded. "Yeah. We should." My parents both looked like they wanted to speak. But they didn't. They just stood there and watched us walk away. We didn't talk about it on the walk back. Not in the car. Not during dinner. But that night, when Caleb was back in his room and I was finishing the last of the dishes, he came and leaned in the doorway. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah. I think I'm finally done waiting." I dried my hands. "Waiting for what?" "For them to change." I walked over and pulled him into a hug. He let it happen, didn't resist. "You never needed them to be different, Caleb. You just needed to know they saw you. I don't think they ever did." I pulled back and looked at him. "Then it's their loss." He nodded. "Yeah. It is." The next morning, I took the red folder out for the last time. I removed the letter from my dad, the social media posts, the payment logs, the voicemail transcripts, the bank statements, everything. And I fed them, one by one, into the shredder. Not out of anger. Not even forgiveness. But because I didn't need the evidence anymore. I wasn't collecting proof of how badly they failed. I wasn't trying to win a case that had already been closed. I was free. That evening, I called a travel agent. Booked 2 tickets. One for me. One for Caleb. 10 days in Italy the week after his finals. Rome, Venice, Florence. Museums, food, history, laughter. Memories. Ours. When I told him, he just stared at me. Seriously? Seriously. I thought we were saving money. We are. We're just also spending it on the stuff that matters. He smiled. I've always wanted to see the Colosseum. We will. Together? I nodded. Together. And when we finally got there, when we stood in the heart of Rome, shoulder to shoulder, taking in the weight of centuries stacked in stone, I realized something. I hadn't just walked away from the family I thought I needed. I built the one I always deserved. And the lights were still on.